Thank you for watching Askewed Reviews. And this is one of my movie trivia episodes, but with an all new format as I'm changing a few things up. Going forward, these trivia episodes are not going to be trivia reviews anymore, as I'm going to keep the reviews and the trivia separate so people can watch the videos in whatever way they want. So, the movie that I'm doing trivia for today is actually one that I just did a review for the other day in my series called Missed or Dodged Movies. The movie I'm referring to is the 1981 film Wolfen. Now, one of the changes that I'm doing, since this is no longer trivia reviews and just trivia, is instead of giving a full kind of synopsis of what the movie is about, which I do at the beginning of my reviews, this time, I'm actually just going to take the back of the box, as I call it. So, what it is printed out on the DVD, Blu ray, VHS, whatever, as to what their explanation of the movie is. And I will then say whether or not I agree or disagree with how they explained it, and then go into the trivia. All right, let's see how this goes. Let me get into my Mr. Movie voice. In a world. No, I'm just kidding. A real estate tycoon, his coke binging wife, and a slum wino have something grisly in common. They're the latest victims in a series of random murders. World weary NYPD detective Dewey Wilson, Albert Finney, soon suspects the killings may be supernatural and deliberate, ages old beings of cunning, intelligence, and incredible power, defending their turf from the encroachments of humankind. So, for the most part, this does do a good job of giving the gist of what the movie is about. Now, something else you usually find on the back cover is a blurb from a critic of sorts. With this one, it's Charles Champlin from the Los Angeles Times, where he says, "A shocker and a chiller of rare force, a seizing entertainment." For the most part, I do agree with Charles. There are some shocking moments, and it is a bit of a rarity in just kind of how different the movie is. If you're wondering why I mentioned the critic and this quote, I think in some of these videos I'm going to do that just because I found out recently that something I said about a horror movie I reviewed is actually going to end up on the back of their DVD and Blu ray cases, and it made me feel special, so I want to make these people feel special as well. In the future, by the way, I do promise I'll get to the movie trivia a bit faster in these videos, but thank you for your patience. One last thing I do want to mention before going into that: there are two actors that appear in this film that also passed away earlier this year, and I want to honor them by mentioning them. The first one is Tom Noonan, and the second is James Tolkien. You may not have always known these two actors by their names, but trust me, they appear in such great moments in so many great films. Now, finally getting into the trivia of this movie trivia video. As I usually do, I'm starting with a trivia question for all of you that I will answer at the end. Composer James Horner would take a musical score he made in this film and use it for what other movie he worked on. So here's the first thing you may not know about this film. It is actually an adaptation of a book written by Whitley Strieber. Now, this is actually the first novel by Strieber that was converted into a movie, but not the last one. People have also done The Hunger and Communion. The name or term Wolfen was a word used by Dutch farmers who settled in America when they were actually describing Indians and wolves as both being wild animals. They used that term. The original script, by the way, opened the movie up in the 17th century and would have explained this in the film. This movie was written and directed by Michael Wadley. In fact, this is the only non Woodstock, non documentary film he directed. His first cut of the movie was actually 4.5 hours long. Now, I don't know whether or not that was the main reason or some other reason, but Wadley was removed from the film after filming reshoots. Before Wadley, Lindsay Anderson was a potential director of the movie. Albert Finney plays the main character of Dewey Wilson, and even though he is an amazing actor, the biggest reason that he got the part is that he was actually Wadley's favorite actor. Here's something I found interesting. Dustin Hoffman really wanted to play the character of Dewey and tried out for it, but because of Wadley's love of Finney, he turned him down. This is the only time in Hoffman's career, apparently, that he was rejected for a part. Finney must have been very popular at this time because in 1981 he actually had 3 films release, including this one. There was also Looker and Loophole. This movie was the feature film role of Diane Venora, who played the character of Rebecca. We also have some very well known actors that appear in this, like Gregory Hines as Whittington, Edward James Olmos as Eddie, Dick O'Neill as Warren, Tom Noonan as Ferguson, and James Tolkien as Baldy. There is a blink and you'll miss it cameo from Reginald Val Johnson as a morgue attendant, and in an uncredited role, Tom Waits is a drunken bar owner. The score for this film was originally composed by Craig Saffin. He was replaced last minute by James Horner, who only had 12 days to write and record the score. From my understanding, this was the first movie to use thermographic visual photography to represent the POV of a character. So if it wasn't for this film, we wouldn't have such cool scenes like this one in Predator. The movie was entirely filmed in New York. They did in fact use real wolves in the movie, but they employed a dozen police sharpshooters that were ordered to shoot to kill if a wolf got out of its enclosed area. In the 1989 film The Dream Team, Michael Keaton's character says that Wolfen was filmed in New York because that's where it actually happened, as if the movie was based off of real events. Also, in the 2019 film Joker, a poster of Wolfen appears during the riots. Now, if you really enjoyed Wolfen and are looking for other movies, here are some recommendations: The Howling, An American Werewolf in London, The Company of Wolves, and Ginger Snaps. Finally, let's answer that trivia question. Composer James Horner would take a musical score he made in this film and use it for what other movie he worked on. Near the end of this film, you'll hear the exact same score that Horner would later use in Aliens. I hope you enjoyed learning more about the movie Wolfen. And for those of you who have put previous suggestions of movies that you want me to review or do trivia for, they are still coming. I'm so sorry about how long it's taking. Now, whether you're new to my videos or I can count you as one of my Askewed viewers, I do hope that you like and share this video, and please, if you're not already doing so, subscribe or follow on whatever platform you're watching this on.